What conditions are potentially neuroplastic or have a neuroplastic component? Hi everyone, welcome back to another video. I hope everyone's healing from neuroplastic pain and symptoms is going well. I hope my content has been helpful for you. Now I want to say if anyone has questions or they have a video idea that they want made, please put it down in the comment section. I'll be sure to try to make this content, answer your questions, support you in any way I can. Now, before I dive into the topic of today, I want to do a quick note about the holiday season. I know we're moving into the holidays. I remember when I was in chronic pain, the holidays were really hard times. There was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of busyness. I didn't feel joyful. My mood, the way I was feeling emotionally wasn't matching how other people felt. So I know it can be hard. Last year I did a video on how to prepare for the holidays. So you can check that out. I'll link that up to the top. It's an old video, so it's a little rough, but the content's still there. So you can definitely check that out. I hope it's helpful. In our house right now, it's Christmas craziness. We celebrate Christmas. So we got our Christmas tree up. Darla, my dog, ate my Christmas lights on my Christmas tree. So now I got to go get new lights. And my kids, who are both young, 3.5 and 6, they're very excited for Christmas. So for today's topic, it's been a frequent question that I get asked is what conditions or what symptoms are potentially neuroplastic? So we're going to dive into this. I made a bit of a list that I'll show you here, and we'll go through it together to explain, what symptoms can potentially be neuroplastic. Because the first step on our mind-body journey is starting to believe that our pain or symptoms are the result of our brain and nervous system feeling in danger and being stuck in survival mode. So here's the list that myself and one of my team members named Alex Klassen, he's a great therapist, made up. Now, we pulled this list of potential conditions that are neuroplastic from the Psychophysiologic Disorders Association. They have a few books that they've put out there. And some of these conditions were a list that they provided. So they are provided by physicians in the area. Now at the top, you'll notice I call it neuroplastic or nociplastic conditions. Nociplastic is just another term for neuroplastic. We have a lot of different terms to explain the same thing. Some people call it central sensitization syndrome. If you're a Dr. Sarno fan, people call it TMS or tension myoneural syndrome. So there's a lot of conditions out there. Some people just call it mind-body concerns. But for today, I'm going to call it neuroplastic or nociplastic. And so these are the conditions that I often see and that I do treat with a mind-body approach. Now, before I go into these, I want to mention that this is a YouTube video. So I always recommend and strongly urge people get examined by doctors, that they get the medical opinion and recommendation from doctors, because we want to make sure and rule out first that there is nothing physically going on. And I'm a therapist, so I'm not going to be able to do that, especially over YouTube video. I can't tell people if their symptoms are neuroplastic or not. But the first step is making sure structural or systemic diseases have been ruled out. And then once they have, usually a mind-body approach can be very effective. So on this list, the top 4 that I see is fibromyalgia, chronic neck pain, chronic back pain, abdominal and pelvic pain. These are all very common neuroplastic, nociplastic conditions. And they are the most common, back pain being the most common type of chronic pain. And it's also, I believe, probably the most common type of neuroplastic pain as a result. So these 4 conditions are very common. I struggled with many of them when I was in chronic pain. Now, under that, we have irritable bowel syndrome, very commonly neuroplastic. Again, important to get checked, but I have treated this quite successfully with people. Now, non-ulcer dyspepsia. Now, this condition is when we kind of have reoccurring symptoms of an upset stomach where there's really no obvious cause. So it can be very neuroplastic in nature. Now, another really common thing that I see is migraines and tension headaches. I always tell people everyone's had a neuroplastic symptom in their life. That's just how we're built as human beings. You know, when we feel dysregulated in our nervous system, when we're having difficult emotions, a result of that is chronic pain and symptoms sometimes. And a really common neuroplastic symptom that probably most people have had is a stress headache. You know, in our society, we are slow to come to the understanding that a lot of chronic pain and symptoms are the result of the brain and nervous system being stuck in survival mode. But most people have some level of acceptance around a stress headache. This is really common. If you're at work, someone might be like, oh, I'm having a stress headache right now. So we do have some acceptance around certain conditions, but I think we need to expand this more so that people are getting the correct treatment. Now, underneath that, we have complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS. We have vestibular concerns or dizziness. Now, I did an interview with Dr. Yonit Arthur. She is amazing. She's wonderful. She has done so much great work in terms of neuroplastic dizziness. So check out her YouTube channel. It's wonderful. If you're having dizziness or concerns similar to that, she's got lots of great content. But this can be a really common cause of dysregulation in our nervous system. When we're having difficult emotions that we're pushing down, the nervous system gets dysregulated, we're stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or shutdown. Dizziness can be a really common cause. With that, very similar, tinnitus. I had tinnitus that was neuroplastic. It didn't stay for too long, but I did have it on and off for quite a few months, and I was able to overcome it using a mind-body approach. Now, we have POTS. And so POTS, what this means is the body can't keep your blood pressure steady or stable. So one type of POTS happens when the sympathetic nervous system is overactive. And so again, this dysregulation in the system can trigger POTS-like symptoms. So if you're experiencing that, of course, make sure you get checked by doctors to make sure there's no physical cause going on, but it can be neuroplastic in nature. Myofascial pain syndrome, chemical sensitivities, irritable bladder syndrome. So these are other really common ones. One that's not on the list that I want to mention is skin conditions. When we're feeling dysregulated, when we're stuck in a state of danger, skin conditions can also be really common and can be a mind-body issue. So I hope going through this list was helpful for everyone. It gives you an understanding of what conditions can potentially be neuroplastic or at least have a neuroplastic component. Because one thing to keep in mind here is that often neuroplastic, nociplastic conditions can be completely neuroplastic or nociplastic. But there can also be a mix going on where we do have some physical damage, some systemic disease or disorder going on, but there's this whole neuroplastic overlay on top. And I believe that most conditions are at least partly neuroplastic or nociplastic. Because as I've said, this is how we're built as human beings. Pain is not just a physical thing that takes place. Our emotions, our nervous system, it is going to determine if that pain or symptom gets amplified, gets intensified. And so even if we do have something wrong with the body, it can be amplified and intensified, and that's that neuroplastic component. And using the skills and the strategies and the education that I provide on this channel can be very, very helpful for that. So I hope this video was helpful. Please put your questions or comments down below, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to you all next week.